Hey everyone, today we're testing out eGPU support for the Absolute 3D one, and we're going to test out 3D mode as well. I'll be pairing this with my morefine G1 that has an NVIDIA 4080M. I'll be using Depth 3D for the side-by-side screens here, and then we're going to toggle our switch and get native 3D mode. When we're driving around, we seem to be hovering pretty close to 30 FPS. The difference here between when I tested it with the iGPU is that it actually feels like 30 FPS. It doesn't feel like we're running at 15 or less, and generally feels fairly smooth for what it is. I found that it runs pretty good. Like there's a little bit of latency when I'm using the controls, but it's very minimum when we're using native 3D mode. For the game settings, we're at 1600p with low settings, DLSS is turned off as well as frame generation, and I've got this in performance mode. So we're going to get the most that we can out of that CPU. And if you take a look at the CPU, we are at pretty close to 100%. So we are getting, I think, the most we can out of it with this eGPU. To give you a bit of a baseline of what our performance is in side-by-side mode, we're, roughly 45 to 50 FPS. So we are losing about 50% performance going into 3D mode. Now we'll take a look at general 2D mode with the eGPU, and we've got the same settings except I've turned DLSS to quality, and you can see that we have a little bit of a bump. We're at about 45, 50 FPS, but still not quite where I'd like it to be. So let's take a look at what else we can adjust. What we'll try first is turning on our frame generation and set things to a little bit higher settings here with Ray Tracing Ultra, and we're going to leave our DLSS to auto. And with these settings, I have to say the game looks pretty good. Like we're at 1600p, so we have a very sharp image. We also have ray tracing set to ultra and graphics set to ultra, so it looks, really, really good. You can turn on path tracing if you want to push it a little bit further, but honestly, I would probably recommend sticking at these settings if you want to have over 60 FPS and a really clean image. Of course, don't just take my word for it. Let's take a look at how things perform with path tracing. Keep in mind though, we are running with DLSS frame generation, so we don't want to go too far below 60 because then you can start to feel it a little bit. And with path tracing, we are down to, low 50s, which doesn't feel too bad, but you're going to feel a little bit of input delay, or it might feel a little bit off. Doesn't feel too bad at this level, but I wouldn't really push it further. What I'd recommend is let's actually take a look at changing our resolution and see if things stabilize a bit more. Now at 1200p, we seem to be back in the 60s. So if you want to play with like the maximum ray tracing and maximum settings, you're probably going to want to drop to 1200p if you want path tracing. Or if you want a little bit more stability, you can stick with ray tracing ultra and you can go at 1600p. You should mostly get above 60 FPS. One note that I'll add at the end here is that my Morefine G1 paired perfectly with the 3D one, but my 1X GPU 2 that has the AMD 7800M seemed to have some issues. It was crashing on driver installs, so I'm not sure why that is, but just keep that in mind that there may be some eGPUs that might have some difficulty connecting with the device. Not sure why, needs a little bit more testing, but that's what I've found so far. If you want to learn more about the Absolute 3D one, I did do an early impressions review where you can get a little bit more information about the device and where you can purchase it. I'll also leave some links down in the description. If you're also curious more about this Morefine G1 with the 4080M, I am working on my review, which will be coming out shortly. Once it's done, I will link it in the description or put it at the end screen of this video. Anyway, I hope that this video was helpful and you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.